2, 3. Talk. Yes. Let's start it. So, Rachel, my first question is, who are you? Do a little introduction.
A quick introduction. My name is Rachel Rosenkantz. I'm from France. I live in New England for the last 20 years. My background is industrial design, and I switched to guitar making about 15 years ago. And I get to teach it. So that's in a nutshell.
Yeah, I have a little question. Well, later in the live about the panel with the fabrication lab at the Harvard Graduate School of Design with Ken, Michi, Burton.
Yes.
It will be pretty interesting to have your feedback about this experience if you want to share.
Sure. I mean, I was already happy to be even part of that group.
Yeah.
It was interesting because it was one of the few conversations that were not necessarily about step by step how to build a guitar or just chronologically how you arrive to here. So there was something that was nice about just expanding the conversation about kind of demystify myth, which actually you do yourself in a lot of conversation in our community. But I don't think there was that much of that conversation necessarily open to the public. So what was nice, it was not just luthiers in the conversation, but a lot of people that were not also students or people that it was open to anyone. So
nice.
The feedback we got and interesting questions we got was not necessarily from people in our field. So that's always nice to be reminded of that.
Yeah, we are not alone in the world, you know. There are like you have a background in the design. Designing is like super big part in the guitar building and in the building of many things, jewelry, bow making, violin making and all the stuff.
Glasses making, you name it, anything.
Yeah.
Even just you walk in the forest, even the forest is mostly man-made if you even think of that. It's crazy how many things, if you land your eyes on, it was designed by a person.
Yeah.
And we just don't notice it anymore. It's like air, like water.
Yeah, the influence of the human race is all around, and it's for millennials. Crazy.
You know what's funny? I was a couple years ago was reading an article that the oldest music instrument is a flute that's 60,000 years old, made from a bear femur. And I realized that, you know what? We needed to make instruments before we needed to make the chair.
Yeah.
That's kind of, you think you need to have a chair before you learn how to play music, but that's kind of interesting that it's in the top 3 oldest like artifacts.
Yeah, and I think like humans and monkeys, they are boring like we are boring like very quickly, and it's like okay, let's do something. Or
maybe bored.
I blow air in a tube and noise.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's still fun now.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So let's start by the beginning. So why Luthier, in fact?
I started playing classical guitar when I was around 8 years old, and regularly, and with Monsieur Gablou, if you're here. And then it was time, years and years later, to go to school, and I knew I wanted to work with visual art, but I felt like I had to give up music. Because you have music school or you have visual art school, design school, and those don't overlap in education, rarely. So for me, it was like, okay, goodbye music.
Yeah.
But I still got to play, not as much, and it was still like on a back burner dream of building instruments. As on my way to art school, I could see luthier shops and progress of guitar being built while I was waiting for the bus. And I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, Avenue Doménil. And wait a a minute. It means that there's a discipline that combines my two passions. And so I tried to look into apprenticeship at the time or internships, and I was told, "But you're too old." Like, oh, I was 21 at the time.
Oh, wow.
But the argument that was given to me was, why a 21-year-old person in a good art school is going to take the spot of a 15-year-old that might not make it to high school.
Mm-hmm.
So that kid should have the priority. Like that, I mean, it does make sense. Explained.
Yeah.
And then, years gone by, I focused on visual art and design, lighting, furniture, yada yada. And you know what? I started to play music again 10 years later.
Nice.
And I started the idea of building guitars came back again.
Mm-hmm.
I started to just order a kit just to build by myself. The first was a catastrophe.
Acoustic guitar, electric guitar?
No, a bouzouki.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
I still have it, just as a memorabilia. I'd say that was my first one, my first attempt.
Reminder.
Yeah, I can see it from here. I'll show you later. And a coworker in Philips, where I used to work, said, "Hey, there's this guitar maker near Newport. It has an open studio. You should go check it out this weekend."
So you were in the United States.
I was already
back in the day.
In the United States. So we're talking about studied in France, and I started to play music, and I was a designer in the United States.
Okay.
And then I started to play music again in bands and and ensembles in the United States.
Guitar or piano or?
I switched. So I did switch to upright bass over time.
Okay.
But also I still have my classical guitar that I have since I'm 8.
Oh,
and I still
nice. So cool.
I got very lucky. My parents didn't know what they bought, and the person who sold the guitar didn't know what they were selling. And I got very lucky. I got a very nice entry level, but good quality, handmade Spanish guitar from the 80s. The varnish was definitely too plasticky, but that's what was done back in the day, in the 80s. Yeah. But the neck is still good. Nothing, I have not needed to do anything to it in 40 something years,
Awesome.
But so to get back to the story, I go visit that studio in South County of Rhode Island, and Daniel Collins had 4 students at the time. I joined in. After 2 years, he had over 35 students. And I started to help also with the shop and everything. And that's when I realized that the commute from home and the studio was too long, and maybe I needed to have my activity closer to where I lived. And that's when I started to just also crossfade my career. So my lighting design career started to ask to be like part-time, and crossfade was guitar building. That was first night and weekends, and then part-time, and then making it full-time. So
it increased step by step.
Well, yeah, it was still a big leap, a very different industry, to go from mass production to handmade, one of a kind piece, So, but I mean, that's the best decision I've made in my life.
Yeah.
I still wake up in the morning.
We have you, so it's cool. Sandrine is tell we want to see the bouzouki. She want to see the kit.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Yes. Nice.
Let me get my headset back.
Awesome.
It was just something I found online back in the day that was on sale. I'm like, okay,
Let's
Maybe
go.
that will be my first test. I mean, it doesn't sound like anything. It's just thick plywood that was just it's just a box, a shallow box.
It's a
It's
kit.
not a boat back, but you know, it was a start just to test drive
Yeah.
the idea.
Have you ever seen these Tumac kits? I think they are selling that still today.
Uh, yeah, they had. I was surprised to see that they had some in parlors because that
Yeah.
got me intrigued to see that actually there's a demand for
Mm-hmm.
that. Enough for, you know, it's, I feel like it's so specialized
Yeah.
to make parlors that actually a big company like Stumac offers that for everybody to try.
Mhm.
I underestimated how much parlors were maybe more popular than I thought, which is it's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah. And I think back in the days, like 20 years, 30 years ago, many people wanted like Dreadnought. The killer, the banjo killer Dreadnought. I think back in the day, Martins did that, or Santa Cruz, or Bourgeois. I don't remember, because you wanted to be heard. In a show.
Right.
But today, and a big guitar, we are talking about that oftenly with Antoine Lacasse at Quebec. We both hate big guitars. We hate that because it's so big. Back in the day, I played electric guitars, and I had an Heritage ES 335. Like a Gibson semi-hollow. It is so big, and I was my arms.
You're
My
numb.
Yeah.
Well,
It's like, do you have a
I
tennis
don't know,
elbow? No, no, I have an ES elbow.
but there's some music I could see why a big guitar is
Yeah,
needed, like
yeah,
big archtop guitars, like
definitely.
when Mary Halvorsen plays her Guild
Yeah.
archtop, it makes sense for her music. But I don't know. Like I live in the Northeast. There's maybe more
Hmm.
singer-songwriter, meaning that people play more solo than maybe in bands, or maybe that's just the community in which I tend to revolve around. So maybe parlors have more of a presence. But when I started Lutherie, I did some repairs
Hmm.
as well as starting to do some build because you don't have clients overnight
Yeah.
like that. I don't do repairs anymore, but I learned a lot
Yeah.
by doing repairs. And how many times I had people coming to my shop saying, I found this parlor in my grandmother's
Hmm.
basement, or I
Oh, sweet.
found this parlor in my grandfather's attic. So there was suddenly all those forgotten, abandoned,
Hmm.
really amazing instruments that just suddenly like came back to the surface.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's also a revival just because of also that. I think there are many factors.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, it's like c'est une question de mode en fait.
Oui.
It's
Yeah.
like it can come back, come back. It's
Yeah.
like,
It's like
yeah.
I remember in the 90s in France, the manouche guitar,
Oh, yeah.
the gypsy jazz manouche was super popular.
Yeah.
And it's funny because now we see that revival more in Canada.
Hmm.
Actually, I feel like there's more around Montreal, Quebec, more manouche guitar presence in makers
Yeah, like
than we do in
Theo,
France.
Theo,
Theo Kazurian.
Doncho, Ivanov too. They are
Ouais.
building. Yeah. So yeah, and it's funny uh, to come back about the luthiers who are doing repairs. The best builders, the best of us are like that, because you understand so much about guitar repairs. Michi Matsuda is working at Griffon Music.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, I didn't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
for like decades, since he started, he worked there, and because you can be able to analyze, to take a look inside, and to be like, okay, this kind of thing, like you are repairing tons of like neck resets or come back to in your hands because this kind of build it just a problem. But so it's like, okay, if I want to build my guitars, I won't use this technique, you know. And I think it's super useful. And yeah, there are so many things that have been, in fact, everything has been invented in the past. Like I think the neck that you can set, you know, on archtop, on Ken Parker's or Benoit Lavoie, you know, you turn the screw and it up and down. It was invented, I think, on romantic guitars. Something like that. We had a talk about that with Simon Burgun in France and Antoine. And it's like, yeah, it's super old. It's such a, like the auto block tuners. So, some French romantic guitars had that.
Send me pictures. I want to, I want to look into that next time.
I'll do that.
That's good to know. Yeah.
So when some people are saying I've invented some things,
or sometimes
the armrest. Excuse me, we are cutting it. Go.
No, you go.
I think Linda Manzer the wedge, thanks, and Grit Laskin armrest, and the Trogot, you know, this suspended bar in the back, on the back.
Right.
It was invented like decades ago or centuries, but with these people, they brought it back from dead, in fact. And it is such an exploit. It's such a big move because, and they are like, it was invented. And
and then it's like, well, it's not just, and then it's perfected or done with other material or with a new approach or a new application of that. So
it's super complicated.
Speaking of the conversation we had with Ken and Michi that you mentioned earlier, Ken Parker was showing in that conversation an example where how some lutes in the 1500s actually was using linen layering and staggering, almost like we would use carbon fiber these days. So that the principle was already there. It's just
and the cool thing with the linen is that when you are routing your guitar for bindings, it won't destroy your bit because carbon fiber. I think it will. So this is something I'm thinking about to build laminated sides, but not with veneers because to cross the grain and to have the stability and to prevent cracks. If you are building laminated sides on the same du même sens, the fiber is going on the same direction. It won't prevent anything but linen, and there are different kind of linen built with the orientation of the fiber. It is such a big thing to explore. I haven't took a look about that, but linen is such a clever.
And I'm sure there may be fibers that are even stronger we haven't explored. Like silk is supposed to be very strong. Maybe silk could be a great,
Yeah, totally. Eliane Delgado is saying actually also the 1903 Ramirez I'm currently restoring have that kind of tuners.
Oh, cool.
So, 122 years ago. This is crazy. So, and the X, Martin did it in 1940, something like that. The X. So but the guitar is an instrument that is currently moving. In contrary with the violin, Guarneri, Strad, they perfected it. So.
Well, they got modified over time and they're a bit more modern. So that's something, I don't know violin well enough, but that's something I've learned recently. And so they are a bit more modern now than they used to be, because some did get modified. Because I was curious about like how old instruments are presented and if there are old string on old instruments, but not always, because they've been modernized enough that
they've had to recarve the necks when the romantic way to play came on the scene. And that's why you can see the oxidation of nails in the heel block, because they recarved the necks, and of course they carved it like, and the nails you can see marks of the nails. It's crazy.
But to your point earlier, it is more of an archetype than the guitar. There's a way a violin is supposed to be, that I feel we have more freedom in guitar making, just like materials alone.
Yeah. Even the classical guitar, many players want to have rosewood and maple mahogany. It's like, no, I don't want that. And it's crazy. And that's why I've started to build steel string guitars.
So did you build classical first and then you moved to steel string, or you always?
At the school at Quebec, the first instrument we had to build were classical guitar. It was flamenca, Indian rosewood, and Engelmann top, I think, and sapele neck. And the sapele neck was too heavy, so the guitar. It was a cool guitar, but it was like no sapele neck for that. But we were like guinea pigs, you know. It was in 2009, 10. So it was like, okay, let's try to use that with the students, and let's see how it will work. And it was one of the only year. I think they've stopped to use sapele for necks like 1 or 2 years after that. Because the body was too lightweight. Yeah. So it was the first guitar I've made, but after that, the second instrument were a copy of Martin. We had a choice between OM and Dreadnought. A plan. They gave us a plan, because we've learned to make our own plan the year after that. So it was a maple and Engelmann OM guitar, and I was like, okay, it is so cool. I want to do that. Yeah. But because it was the closest from electric guitar, because I wanted to build electric as luthier when I arrived at school. It was a plan. So I was in a classical guitar. My dad had a classical guitar from the 70s, and I've learned how to play guitar on it. But I was like, nah, I can't play Led Zeppelin on that. So budget. So it's funny to see we all have a background, and that brought us in luthiery. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think, when did we met? Was it at Woodstock in 15 or 16? Do you remember that?
You know, I was wondering earlier. You know what? I could scroll in my Instagram, but now that we're logged in, I can't. I do remember that I went with Kaki, but it was a year where I was not presenting my work. So I showed my work there in 18. I want to say 16
with Kaki. 16 with
Kaki. I want to say 16.
Yeah, because
that was my first year ago there.
Yeah, Mike said, okay, you can invite anyone you want, and I was like, oh, Kaki is here, Kaki. So I was such a pain in the butt. Oh, hello, Kaki, because I'm such a fan. So I was like, oh, hello, hi.
Yeah, and then I've been every year since that year. Yeah. I mean, I do miss that show, because that was such a big contributor for all of us across the world to meet every year. Like, I know a lot of luthiers now thanks to that, Woodstock event. It was such a big community builder.
Yeah, and it was so well run by Baker and his team. It was like,
I'm glad I got to see that.
yeah, I miss that too. It was yeah, and because many of us are like, yeah, I'm in my shop, I'm doing my things. Like social medias, it's too much time consuming. I don't want to do that. Like, uh, what's his name? He's building Archtop. Um, I don't remember the name.
Okay.
Maybe I'll find it back. But so he's such a low profile guy on social medias, and uh, I don't know if you remember him. His finish where a woman was making his finish beautiful, like oil varnish. Oh, ah,
Okay.
I don't have my computer to check it out, but yeah, he was one of my first friend on the community, like at Woodstock. It was like, yeah, many people are like that. It's like, yeah, because some people are too old for social medias, you know.
No, but also,
Like,
I mean, yeah, that's our generational perception that we have to be visible, but I don't think that's always the case. You know, it helps, but that's not the only thing.
yeah, yeah.
I remember I briefly shared a shop with Otto D'Ambrosio.
Mm-hmm.
He has very little presence on social media. He has tons of very high caliber musicians as clients. So, and actually, some clients like also the privacy, that
Yeah.
not the world not to know that they bought this and that. You know, it's also appreciated, the discretion.
Yeah, that's why for someone of my generation, well, our generation, I was like when I graduated at school and I started my workshop, I thought it was like, okay, all the luthiers are on social media. I thought
No,
it was so dumb, so like yeah, I was so full of dreams, and back in the day, crazy.
we can't do
So
everything. I can't tell you, like, I try to document every step of the way, but then I just, like, sometimes I just want to work.
yeah,
I don't want to have to pull my tripod to show, and sometimes I don't want to show how I did something to everyone because that's my secret sauce.
yeah,
And, you know, but in the opposite sense, there are people that actually are using social media really well.
yeah.
I think of like Daisy that started a couple years ago,
Yeah.
and it, like, that's a good way to teach people what really goes into the guitar building that people who are not in the field can understand without like dumbing down the conversation at all.
Yeah.
So I think that's like, and there were not a lot of people doing that, and it's you know, at first like it's like, whoa, that's like yeah, that's new.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, and it actually like goes in really detail. It's great.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's like both end of the spectrum works really well.
Yeah, what Daisy is doing, it's like, I don't know how she's doing that. It's so much time consuming. I started to make videos, and well, like at the end of the last year, it's like, okay, you start to do your videos, you need to cut it, to edit it, and oh shoot, it's like 7 p.m. But okay, but I need to work on guitars. Yes, but you need to do these kind of things because
So yeah, it takes a certain set of skills, and it's okay. It's just yeah.
no, and it's fun because it's part of the job to be we are doing that with customers, social medias or not. It's not the question, but to be like, okay, not like this is a myth. This is no, because we all have different approach. It's not well, the for me the way to do that, it's not like saying, okay, this one is wrong, this one I'm right. No, because it will be like super disrespectful, but it will be like wrong because we all have different ways to do that, like many ways. But some people are like, they are not luthiers, and I tend to forget it myself. So it's like, okay, maybe there are other woods, other specs, other things that you could love, and many of my customers, like most of it, are like super open-minded, and if you are not doing that, this prevention, this kind of okay, but there are other things. I think you are missing something, because there is a real exchange with the customer, and it's awesome, I think. Yeah.
I
So
I do document for like clients that are not local.
Mm-hmm.
We share Google Drive every week. They have a little update
awesome.
and all the pictures of like the update.
Nice.
And so they can see the progress, or if there's a change of direction. That's what, they can stop at one point and say, oh, you know what, maybe the rosette, blah, blah, blah. Let's change it to this instead. So there's, because the process is so long of build. Yep. It's just like you get the down payment and then ciao, see you in 6 months. No. No, and it's fun, to also share all those steps. And it's not share with the whole world, it's just share with the clients. And it's really like sometimes that's all needs to happen. It's like
I think it's a great. I don't do that, but it's such a great idea. A Google Drive and a private thing, and be like, okay. I know there are many customers who asked some pictures on a DVD, on a drive, and you put it on in the case
DVD?
With the guitar.
What year is this?
and I even know some of us who are giving some dust powder and some shavings. It's like, okay, these are, it's awesome.
Oh, that's cute. Like, I remember, the person I learned from saved all the cutouts of the sound hole to make coasters. Wait, there's also, who was that? I've seen recently. Okay, now I'm forgetting his name. You see, it's my turn. A guitar builder in Germany near the Rhine who makes books, photos, and then the guitar is delivered with a little book of how it's made. And I thought that's so lovely. Persh guitar, I think, if I pronounce it right. I really like what he's doing.
His logo is a perch, right? It's a fish.
Two fish.
Okay. I see.
Very good work. I don't know. I've seen in his feed that actually he makes book with all the steps. That's really so.
It's awesome.
A guitar is a lifetime companion. So if you have the little story that goes with it, it's pretty nice.
Yeah, I know. I've built 2 guitars for my dad. The first one was like in 14, like at the early beginning at the shop, and he was like, okay, I want pictures, I want this thing, I want the specs, the sheet spec, what is this wood? So when his friends are coming at home, it's like, oh yeah, my son did that. He's so proud. It's so cute.
That's cute. That's great.
Yeah. Sometimes we have family parties, like the 19th birthday of my grandmother, and he brought the guitar, and everyone is there, and oh, you did that? So they were like, oh yes. So I'm trying to not be like, okay, this wood, I brought it at 1.2 millimeters. They don't care, but they are like, oh yeah, okay, well, goodbye. This is boring, right? The luthier with. I'm like that. I'm like in my and say, maybe we'll talk about other things, please. So So this is the question I've oftenly asked in this Luthier Connection. What do you think about guitar shows? Because there is with social media, some people are like, we don't need guitar shows. Some people are like, like us, because we've talked about that. Because people need to try our guitars. It's like, you know, it's super important.
So there are different shows. Like we mentioned earlier, like the Woodstock one, and maybe we need to explain it to people who are listening that don't know what we're talking about. But for a long time, every October, luthiers around the world were invited every year. You could show your work only if you were invited among 50 to 70 luthiers around the world, and to show a couple guitars. So it drive a lot of people that are serious guitar players, collectors, or musicians that get the chance to try really, really good instruments, even though they might not buy. They get a sense of what, you have world-class instruments for the time of the weekend. It's just like, and for the community, I mean, I get to meet everybody that I would never get to meet. Like people from Japan, from Korea, people I've met a bunch of French luthiers I never got to meet otherwise because I live in New England and in the US. So shows like that, it's amazing.
Yep.
Now I've done bigger shows and I don't know if it's the right venue for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm more one-of-a-kind instruments, and there are some shows where I've been. I think of the one in Nashville, which is not the big NAMM, but the smaller NAMM. Okay. It was a good experience. It was as far as trying a new area, a new type of musicians. Yep. But I don't know. I feel like the last clients I've had are people that found me on social media and didn't try my guitars. Okay. Which, it's strange. I would not buy a guitar I cannot try. But then also there's a built-in trust as far as, well, if they've seen enough videos, enough references, if they've seen that, okay, this person has built guitars for 15 years, there's this trust that this person knows what they do, or if there's a client that's a serious musician, that's okay, this person is legit. I just have to step out just because I have a candle that's kind of like crazy. Go, vas-y. I'll be right back. Hold on. Sorry, I just didn't notice that we will cut that gap. Sorry, thank you for everybody for staying. I just started to smell something melting. It was just at the bottom.
Yeah, you don't want your workshop to burn.
No.
Don't jinx it.
No. It's okay now. Yeah, so where were we? The shows. The huge shows like NAMM, I don't know, it feels like we're like a drop in the ocean. Shows that I have not tried shows in Europe. I know there are a couple of shows in France, Germany that look interesting. Like the Grail show, there's one.
The Holy Grail, yeah. Yes, they were planning to do it in France.
I heard couple good things. There was one I wanted to try, but then it stopped. Mm-hmm. The one in Montreal. That one looked promising.
Yeah.
But I do miss small trade shows. There's not a ton. Mm-hmm. That's the problem. But at least they're there.
Yeah. Because I was at Cremona, Mondo Musica in 17.
Oh, yeah.
It's so big. I had the opportunity because a couple of my dealers are in Hong Kong, and they are doing the Shanghai guitar show. It is like even bigger than NAMM. It's like,
I mean,
It is the biggest show on the planet. It's like the superficie is like five football fields. The equivalent. It's insane.
Back when I was an industrial designer, like at Philips Electronics, those were the kind of shows I would go to. But that's for mass production.
Yes.
So that was Javits Center, or like huge shows in Munich. That will no, in Frankfurt. Sorry, in Frankfurt that would be like 5 blocks, 5 buildings. You could that takes like, or Milan. That's why those shows are like 1 week long or 3 days long. If you're a distributor, that makes sense.
Yep.
Or
like,
you know, or somebody that makes big production, that makes sense. I know I'm trying one this year later in Belgium. That's kind of new, but that's not guitar specific.
Okay.
But yeah, I want to try one in Europe and see also how that goes.
Yeah, because the Cremona, it was mainly for piano and violins. Well, quatuor, you know.
Yeah. Oh, no,
so we had and there were Taylor, Martins who were there, Larrivée. So the guitar were well represented, but the thing is, like, there were 2 shows back in the days, like years ago, at Cremona Mondo Musica, and the other one were specifically for guitar. So Luthier were coming, and they stopped that. In fact, they merged with the Cremona Mondo Musica. So it was pretty strange. It was super well organized. The organization were awesome, but they were mostly students from the Cremona school, guitar building, because the Cremona school is guitar building and quatuor building, and mostly students, and it was fun to be able to talk to students, but no customers, and it was
sometimes we can't guess. We just have to try to find out. Only one way to figure it out is to do it, and then you learn. And that's it.
Fair. It is fair. It's not an issue. It is a game. And NAMM, let's be honest, it's for big companies, or electric guitar builder, or amps, or pedals. But a couple of builders started to go there and to advertise about that. So I've never been there. I don't know how it's work. I've had good things, bad things about that. So but it is so big. You can hear your guitars, and even at the Santa Barbara guitar show in 16, and the Vancouver guitar show in 18, it was like that. There were not any booths, you know.
Yeah, that's hard. Yeah, that's very hard to be able to actually hear instruments when you have thousands of instruments coming around. Yeah.
So I think that's why small shows, and like Sonor at Montreal, but they didn't do it again after the COVID. The last edition was in 19, I think, and they had booth. They had I don't know the term in English, insonorisé, isolated booth. So they had that, and it was such a good move to do that, because
well, it's not easy. Those booths cost a lot, you know.
And that's why it's like hats off to Théo, to Joël, Barbeau, Théo Katsorian, all the organization, and it was a good price for the table, and super well run, and coffee, and just an awesome show. Unfortunately, it's not. I don't want to talk for Theo and Joël and other guys, but it would be fun to have it again. But again, it's costing. It's super time consuming. No, when you're a builder, it's like it's crazy. So my next question. Let's start to talk about your work. you have something in common with Steve Vai. What is it? Beekeeping?
Ah, okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I forgot that. Not that I'm a beekeeper,
Yeah.
but that he is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's selling
Yeah.
his honey, and it's his hobby. He has ton of
You
fun
know,
about that.
there's more and more people doing it, and I'm very happy about that. And actually, I'm gonna go back to it. I gave it a break.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I'm gonna get more bees, which is this time of the year to start to get ready. So
Yeah, there's the queens, and yeah.
yeah, and I might do a different type of hive
Hmm.
this time. Maybe I will go with a length trough and not necessarily just a top bar.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think I have a good like exposure to the sun, not too much wind. I'm afraid of bears because I have
Oh.
bears
Mm.
where I live, and I know like we've spotted a couple bears 2 months
Uh-huh.
ago in people's backyards. So there's the
Oh.
risk of a bear just
Yeah,
then it's life.
yeah.
I would have fed a bear. That's okay.
Yeah, it's
um,
monkeys at work, and it's like one bear and done. Oh,
well,
okay.
and um, so yeah, beekeeping. I got into that thanks to a student
Oh, yeah.
that started to build a beekeeping club
Hmm.
at the Rhode Island School of Design back in
Okay.
2017, and I got into beekeeping, and since then, yeah.
So cool. It's one of my dream to be beekeeper. Like
Well, you know
since I'm 8.
what?
Awesome.
Just go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
It's
And
awesome.
yeah, and so yeah, I built a yeah. Uh, then as while building the beehive, you have to be aware also of a lot of things about. You can tell in winter
Hmm.
if there's enough food left in
Yeah.
the hive, not just by looking, but by listening before you
Oh.
even open. Because sometimes if you open the hive to check on them, the shock of
Oh.
temperature, because
Oh,
they
yeah.
have to remain at 85 Fahrenheit inside to survive.
Okay.
Just that cold snap can be fatal.
Yeah, but
So
in
when
Quebec, minus 40 Celsius.
yeah, ouais, yeah.
Yeah, and it's
So
so
if you
many
listen
things.
to the
Hmm.
hive, you can hear if there's enough food by if how low in the hive or high the sound is, because they will eat bottom up the food.
Okay.
So you
Nice.
can tell that they're running out of food based on where the sound is in the hive, but you can tell also if there's a lot of them or not. If there's a very few left, like it's. But
Hmm.
then I started to wonder, like, actually, of the
Yeah.
acoustics of the combs themselves and how they communicate. And so I started to build a soundboard,
Yeah.
bracing
Yeah.
specifically for um, bees to build combs, because combs have a structure that helps to communicate among bees. A
Hmm.
bee will go in a comb, send a memo to the whole colony, and through those rays of wax, everybody gets the message. It's
Oh,
kind of pretty cool.
I
So
didn't
it's
know
a
that.
natural amplifier. I underestimated how fast the cells will be filled up with
Uh-huh.
larvae and with honey, and then it was a heavy, squishy guitar. So I
Oh.
left it for a whole other year.
Uh-huh.
So first, the bees had enough food for the winter, and by that same process, they will clean also all the cells.
Nice.
I got lucky first year, beginner's luck, it worked. But I tried it again and again and again. They're not doing it this time.
Ah,
So you know what? Maybe it's just a one-off, and that's
yeah.
it. And that's
The beauty of thing.
okay. And so that was a fun project. I learned a bunch in the process, and it's also completely changed the direction of my work now since. And that was about around 2020. So I really enjoyed investigating more the resonance of other materials that's not wood, since a lot of autumnal wood are endangered. Well, what else is natural, not endangered, that we could use that also resonates? And that's how other substrates started to,
The
be on my Mycocaster, be on my radar. So then the resonance of mushroom, second, the nature's polystyrene. The idea came just from opening an Amazon box and some packing. Maybe it was not Amazon. Maybe it was furniture. I don't. The corners of foam that you have in cardboard boxes in shipping to protect. Yeah. Those are in polystyrene. Not good. But there's a company that's Ecovative, which actually I'm happy to say their name because they provided me so much in material and they helped me also. They believed in this project and they helped me with the molding of the first batch. So I'm very grateful for their help. And so starting to explore growth and see how we can get resonance from a natural substrate that's similar to that. And I did first a Mycolele, just a quick test with some mold I already had. It sounded promising. Then I made one Mycocaster and now two, now three. Now I'm getting to number 5. And they've changed a lot already each iteration. Yeah. Though there's cycles, so it's not wood. So you have to compensate for new problems.
Oh yeah,
so it resonates, but it's not strong. So you have to get the tension management from another way. So there's an exoskeleton with pressed paper.
Okay, wow.
So try to see can I make a guitar with no wood at all?
This is great.
It's funny because the first one was so light. The second one got heavy because of more paper. And so now I'm the third one had mushroom leather. Now the fourth one has a through neck that's a bit longer. So the tail, for more stability and anchoring of the tailpiece. The number 5, I want to see if I can also add eggshells to the exoskeleton. I've been working with eggshell ceramics now for 2 months. I haven't shared it yet, but now it's close enough that I'm going to share it soon, so I feel comfortable saying it. And try to think. It's 2020 because, and it's everyone, not just guitar big, the whole world suddenly business stopped, So okay, what am I gonna do now? I said, well, I'm gonna have all the time in the world to try all the crazy ideas I never got the chance to do. Yay! And now it's just completely changed the way I build now. Yeah. Sometimes I do love build small parlors, family heirloom commission work. And they're maybe more traditional with a twist, but boy, I love it because one I'm working on right now is a retirement present. The last one I just I delivered was one that was for a surprise 40th birthday. Nice. One was for a wedding present, where instead of exchanging rings, so a guitar is cooler than a ring, so it was actually, or one is also one was the kids drawing engraved in the inlays, and that's gonna be a family heirloom that will get passed down. So those are so fun to do because those instruments are gonna be taken care of really well, played and loved, and those are so fun to make.
Yeah, and it have a, when you are a victim of fires, as we see that at Los Angeles right now, it's just terrible. John Mayer made a post that resumed it pretty well. The most precious thing you have, it's not it is the family pictures. It is because some people passed away, and it is the only trace you have remaining.
Yeah.
And John Mayer posted an album of pictures of his dad, and it's like it is the most precious thing I've ever had, and it resumed it like pretty well. Because when your house is on fire, you are taking like clothes, and you are taking it's just tragic. So yeah, it's awesome to be able to include that in an instrument, which is bringing even more value, sentimental value to the instrument. It's awesome. And it is something like the most high-end Brazilian rosewood set can't compete with, you know.
I never worked with like Brazilian, because like when I started, it was already obsolete.
Yeah.
It was already like forbidden, so I didn't get into that. I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. Like, there's so many woods that sound equally good. I know people are gonna say, no, there's nothing better. I'm like, I actually tried. I finally tried catalogs for the first time.
Yeah.
So good. How come it's not more popular? Like, it gets popularity, but this wood should have been like already used more 10 years, 20 years ago. And I was just blown away.
Yep, it's just, yeah. And I thank Michael Bashkin for building with catalogs because
catalogs?
Yeah, catalogs, yeah.
Oh.
It's catalogs.
No, my catalogs. I like it better because it sounds like a character from Camelot. But
Catalogs, le Gaulois. Yeah. Excellent. But yeah, and I wrote to Michael. It was like years ago, and I was like, okay, because I've discovered it. I bought a couple of fingerboards to Hibden Hardwood, like the best wood shop on the earth ever, and I was like blown away, and I was like, okay, how when you are building a guitar back and side, how do you use it? It was like, okay, you need to build an OM size max, because Dreadnought it would be too heavy, and yeah, yeah, because it is the sixth wood heaviest, densest wood on earth. The sixth, yeah. I think African blackwood is third on the list. And yeah, when I am using catalogs for my fingerboards, like the basic wood. Well, basic, it's not the term, but the base price wood, it is not ebony. It's like catalog, because the tap tone on this thing, tap tone is just a clue to know how good a wood is. You can have good tap tone, and you will work with the piece like shoot, and it will be a mess. But it is better. The only wood that equal in terms of tap tone is African blackwood.
Yeah, I never
the only wood.
Yeah, I never got to work yet with that.
Yeah, Madagascar.
You know, I was surprised by Osage orange.
Yes, I don't have some, but I want some because it is just a blast.
Yeah.
Again, thank you, Irvin Somoji. Irvin, it's like, yeah. He built with Osage orange before anyone, I think.
It was at a workshop at the El Nora Festival in Champaign, Illinois, and I was giving a workshop. Some guy, I don't know his name, just gave me some from his backyard.
Yes,
And say,
and it's local.
and it said, we have so many here, people throw it away because it's considered as like a bad wood that will take over your yard, and people just throw it away. And it's amazing for like the wear and tear on the fingerboard, on also the digging in on some like bridges if you do a floating bridge. And it's really cool. It has this bright mustardy color that changes over time, so you can also play with varnishing with UV protectant in some area but not some other, so the design keep morphing. I mean, there's so many things you could do. It's just hard to find a piece that's large enough. It exists, but it's I spotted one not far in Taunton, Mass. I feel like should I just go and grab it because like it's too good to be true. But it's so fun. I've seen that a lot in furniture making, especially on pieces that need to be turned. Spindle, you know. But in guitar making, not really until like this person say, you have to try this. So I don't know. Thank you to this mystery person. That was very kind. And yeah, it's great.
But it's funny because I consider this wood like Paduk. The color is so intense, and it's like you love it or you hate it. And at the beginning, Paduk, but with UV and time, the Paduk will turn brownish. I have some blanks of Paduk I bought just before the CITES Annex 2. It was 2 years ago, something like that. It was so much inexpensive, so affordable, and I was like, why didn't buy some before? Because it's Osage Orange is just awesome, and there are Cataloche, Paduk, Osage Orange, Wenge. But
you know, though, Wenge, I never had so many splinters in my finger with Paduk and Wenge.
I got some, but surprisingly not. But I wore gloves. The time I didn't wear gloves, it was like, but it was with raw billets and things like that were not plain, you know. So it was like super dangerous. But yeah, Wenge for bridges and fingerboard, it's insane. But it's very interesting to come back to brass. There are so much stories about brass I've heard. It's like the running gag is you have legal brass. You bought it like it was 68 and 92 CITES Annex 1. But even if it was legal, you don't have paperwork to prove it, so it's illegal.
But
it is the king of back and side, but it was used a lot back in the days. I've ever seen back in my school, in my mon lycée, I came back as luthier to talk about luthiery to students, and they have, I think they still have it, not a marimba but a xylophone in brass. But like this spider webby, the thing, you could use it for bridges, because of course it's not big enough for anything else. And I was like, don't you want to sell it? And they were no, not because they knew it was brass, just because it is expensive. A good xylophone. So but when I see guitars of T.J. Thompson, of John Slobod, of many builders who are good enough to use it like at its best, it's like, oh wow. But the story behind it is so. I've myself imported Madagascar rosewood from France because I bought it, but it already had CITES, and it's Annex 2. It's not Annex 1. It was a pain in the peep because, in fact, yes and no, because I still had CITES. It was a lot of patience, in fact. But the bois eau et forêt in France with the customs and all the things, they knew their job. So it was not very difficult or complicated. You you take pictures, you fill paperwork, and it's done. But yeah, you need to, when you come in Montreal at the airport, you need to declare it with the paperwork, and it's again some work, because when you leave France or the country when you need to be at customs and to have the signature of the customs France and Canada. So if your flight is not during open hours in customs, you are done, because it needs to be done 1 or 2 hours before the flight. You can do that a couple of days ago, and no, it's a couple of hours. It's crazy. But with Brazilian, you need to do the paperwork you need to ship like a guitar or material. You need to go in a port where it's accepted. Like I think in Arizona, there is one port. It is just a couple of ports in each state. It's crazy, and you need to fill the paperwork. And when you arrive to do another paperwork, it's like crazy.
It takes what it takes.
Yeah, and it's like elephant ivory or tortoise or tortoise, because it's nice. It has been overexploited, and it's crazy, because when they said, okay, in Brazil in '92 you can't exploit it, the farmers just cut their fields of Brazilian rosewood. They cut it, they burnt it, and they plant coffee. So it increased the issue with this wood. Yeah. So yeah, alternative woods like Cataloche, Wenge, Granadillo. There are tons of it. It's insane.
I mean, my students, I always tell them to go budget friendly on their project when they, as much as they can. A lot of them use poplar.
Yeah.
Sometimes I was surprised, like poplar is being scorned upon, but I have really good like results on like very entry level beginner instruments with poplar.
Nice.
I was actually very surprised, like used well. It could be amazing.
Yeah. And the
now, visually, it's not necessarily appealing to have those kind of greenish, grayish streaks. But then, you can work with it or do something else, so finishes comes in. Yeah. But sometimes they're just like wood are not the superstars that do like a great job.
And it was funny because Cataloche so well, I think it was in 19, something like that. I ordered a batch of 30 fingerboards to be done, and I was like, oh, it looks cool. They have back and side, perfect quarter stone, like jumbo dreadnought set. It like perfect. So I saw the wood, and I was like, okay, I need more. So the story is like, Yves Donald Woods and Allied Luthiery, they had stash, but it was cut like decades ago. And because it was like a wood that was not very, people didn't know about Cataloche, it was like, okay, they sold the fingerboard $6 the fingerboard, US. I was like, shoot, it is gold. So I started to buy a lot, and back and sides too, and from like the next day it like tripled or quadrupled the price. It was like $18 a fingerboard. So, and some people are like, yeah, you bought all of it. Yeah, but you spent your money on brass, so why should I feel guilty of anything? I have a lot of rosewood here, but I've started to be like, okay, it is. Remember when they announced it in 16, like in a couple of days, you need to declare all your stash, everything. And I back in the day, I was at a luthier from Montpellier. what's his name? He's building incredible Pierrick Bruat.
Je vois.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and he was in the middle of this big storm, and he was like, dude, we've made trade like 30 years ago with other builders. I don't even know if it's Madagascar, if it's because back in the days you had Indians that were like as good as brass. And he was like, it's super, super annoying because I can't be able to.
Yeah.
So, woods like Granadillo, Catalogs, Chorche, Cataloche.
Cataloche.
In French, it is not very, Loche is another, yeah. Nope, that joke. So, yeah, and the thing, so the funniest thing, it comes from two different dealers, Allied and Ibden, but it was the exact same stash. So it was super old, but it probably came from one source, in fact. But both of the shops had the same stash because it was super recognizable, same oxidation, same wood, same pattern. So it's like, okay, so when did this wood had been cut? Impossible to say. They couldn't be able. So it was super dry, perfect, and it was like 3 or 4 times. A fingerboard ebony, like African or Indian, it's the same thing. It's like $35, and you got a catalog for $6, and it is better. It is not jet black. It is brownish, but
it's great.
Yeah, and when people are like, okay, yeah, we didn't know. No, we all knew. We didn't know it was this good, but we all knew that Ibden had Cataloche. Ibden. It is just a question. It could have been bad. It could have been a bad gamble.
Oh yeah.
But it's possible. But it's wood. When you see Torres has built papier mâché paper, but why couldn't you use poplar?
Right.
It's the same thing. It is just a question of elitism and purism, and there is not just rosewood in life. And for example, Sitka, I talked with a guy. I won't give his name because he won't be happy about that. But he's working at Godin. He told me right now it's impossible for us to get good Sitka spruce.
Well, Sitka has been like clear cut. Yeah. I mean, you've seen that documentary 10 years ago?
I've been there, in fact, in British Columbia in person. I've seen the fields. I've seen they leave a little trail of forest. There is a road, and both sides of the road there are like 1 or 2 meters of forest, just enough to hide the thing. And after that, it's like a soccer field, like a couple of soccer field of cut, but it's and I've been in it, and it's like, and I was like, okay, and you talked about forests that were gérés, that were set up by the human, but in Europe, in Italy, for example, it is not the same game. They are thinking in the long term. And la Val di Fiemme forest, la forêt de Stradivarius, they are working on it for like centuries to do things well. But in East Europe, in Carpathian, and it's in Russian, it is the same thing. It's not because it's in Europe that it's better. This is not what I'm saying. No. But yes, the Sitka, I think they are like 2 or 3% of the big trees forests that are still on the ground. The rest have been, and it was used for paper towel, for like shit stuff. So yeah, if Godin can get some, and Sitka, like East Indian rosewood, it is the best price instrument like the cheap industrial guitars. So people are like Mike is like back in 16 at Woodstock. I've had a parlor, a double O, East Indian Rosewood, and Sitka. And I was at the house with Tim Farrell, John, Laurent, and Tim played the guitar, and we were doing things, and guys were doing dishes. Everyone stopped, and they were like, "What?" But you know, the house, it was like meters away, and I was with John. John were like, "Yeah, but what did you use? Brass? I don't have the money for that. Indian and German for the top right? No, Sitka. What? No, how did you do that?" And I talked about that with Mike, and Mike were like, "It is the only guitar, Sitka guitar, I love. But it is Sitka, so I, I won't make it." And you see, and it was 2 years after I started, and I was like, okay, this is the elitism of customers, high end, you know. Everyone is not like that. And Mike is humble enough to be like, okay, I love this guitar, but it's Sitka, it's not my taste. You know, he's like Adirondack, German, all these things. So it's a question of taste. It is not questionable, but it's like, okay, you to be not successful, but to sell your instrument, you need to sell a kidney, to buy high-end wood, Madagascar, and to build with it. But no, in fact, it's not. But it is the easiest way. If you are building a brass guitar, you will sell it. It's even if it's a bad guitar, it's sad.
No.
So people are like, "Oh my God, it's brass! I'll take it," and it's cool. But yeah,
I don't know. Is it cool though?
Yeah, it's cool for it's like Luthier is like a marathon. It's not 100 meter. You know, it's not Usain Bolt. It is on the long term.
Right.
So yeah, yes, I know it, but it's we don't have enough of one life to discuss about that and be like, okay, it is or it is not. No.
It's just
so complicated.
No, the things like now we all know the situation with forests and woods and management of woods. So it's just like now that we are all in the know of like what's the situation, like it's just like we just have to do the right thing.
Yep.
At our own scale, and maybe that, you know, it sounds kind of naive and a bit cheesy, but I think that's all we can do to not make it worse.
Yeah, and we are
full scale, and we are. Well, a lot of us are. I think like there's a lot and more luthiers are just also using just wood within what's available nearby. So we're gonna see like maybe more instruments that will have also tonality that are just from woods from the Northeast, or maybe woods from like the, you know, Southwest, and so it's gonna, and just like talking here like on this continent, but like then you expand that to the world, you start to wonder, well, it's not that easy because people in Honduras, they have a lot of hardwood, but there's no softwood that goes there. So that becomes a problem of people not having access necessarily in some places to some species of wood. I'm lucky to be in a place where I can have maple up north and also like maybe some nice walnut in the area. Like there are woods I can use, but not every place can because of just geology and the you know what's available, and yeah, it's such a puzzle. Like even if you try to fix in one solution somewhere, it opens also, you know, another problem to like fix in another way. It's but
you know. To talk about catalogs.
Catalogue. Actually, I learned that today.
Yes. Yeah, it's insane. It's quarter tone. It's there are figures in it. and it's there is ribbon, so
it's really nice. I think it's just like it's
yeah,
another,
it's so good.
you know,
But again,
another option.
you need to do your homework. It's in fact there is so many techniques, so many different woods, and we need to find it. We need to find it, and it's like many of us are like, oh, okay, have you heard
But
about this little?
what if it's not wood?
Yeah.
So if it's fibrous, what maybe, we were talking about linen earlier, but what if actually maybe there's a solution into inventing a type of fabric that could behave like wood? You know what I mean? Like,
well,
what if,
Rocklight and Rich Light.
Rocklight, Rich Light, yeah. Or like if Rich Light's like the way the layers of paper are compressed. It's almost like a book.
Yeah.
So there's no grain per se, but the parallelism of all those layers kind of recreates a fake wood. It's almost paper going back to the tree that it, almost like
what's this say? Just give me a minute. Is it Rocklight?
They do have a great sample where, I don't know if that's what you're looking for, where you can see the fraying of the edges.
I have one from LMI. It was like
I like how it sands really well. It's tough on my hand saw.
Yeah. And the fun thing, there is something you can do, a treatment. You take shellac, and when you are croning your fingerboard, you start at like 120 grit. You do it. You put some shellac in it. You do the 180. You put shellac in it, and the build of shellac that will penetrate it will give a beautiful chatoyance and very wood-like. In fact, it was I think it was the guys from the Mylan Co-op. I think it was Jeremy Clark or Mike Kennedy who told me that it was. And I have a couple of fingerboard, and it's awesome.
I've used wax on it, and there's a nice control on how matte, satin, eggshell, or super glossy you want it, because it's but it's a nice slow build, so you can really have a nice gradient, little step by step, and stop when you're happy. So I think that it works well with wax.
Yeah, nice. I don't know
and it's very pleasant to touch.
Yeah, and I have bindings. Wow, just right there, and the fingerboards. And for bindings, it's awesome to bend. Yeah.
Seriously?
Huh?
I had no idea. I've used it as fingerboards. I've used it at. Oh my God! Really?
I have a couple of.
Man, je savais pas. Wow.
C'est du beurre.
Okay, because I had no idea that you could melt it. That's a game changer, because like the only piece of wood on Mycocaster, I use just like leftover cuts from sides of other guitars, and since it's a very shallow instrument, I use the leftovers to start to bend the side, and that's the only piece of wood. So I could really even get rid of the.
But the thing, it is super complicated to talk with them. It is super complicated to supply with them because they don't answer to emails. The communication is like
with Rocklight.
Well, yes, Rocklight, not Rich Light.
Rocklight. I was talking about Rich Light.
Yeah, this is a Rich Light, not Rocklight.
Oh, okay. So Oh, you know what it reminds me of? So we're not talking about the same thing.
Oh no, you are talking of
A
rich
bridge
light.
light.
Okay, no, it's
Yeah.
rock light. Yeah, yeah. But
But it reminds me of some conversations I've had in the past with clients about tuners. Whereas, do you want the shirtlers or there's 3 different brands of tuners
yeah,
that have almost the same name.
yeah.
And it's, yeah. Yeah, it's funny. It's okay.
So yeah, yeah. Um, so your collab with Kaki, the Passerelle, how did it start?
Alors, 2015. I still have the sketches of the 12 different options before, yeah, and then it started even before that. So, I used to play music more than I do now. Back then, I was in many bands, you name it, like a classical ensemble, a rock folk band, and I was also doing electronic music, like just French house music, and you name it. It was a time where I was doing it all. And I had Beth Wexler was my VJ at the time. A couple of years later, I see a show that's promoted. It was one of Kaki's tour in town, and that was the first tour with a projection on the guitar. So that interacts also with the sound that's been played, etc. And I look at the visuals of like the trailer, and I send the video of the trailer to my friend Beth and say, "Hey, check this out. This looks like you might like this." And it's like, she realized that actually she was the one who did the visuals for that show.
Oh.
Say, no wonder. Yeah, this is my visual. Say, what? And say, actually, we're going to be in town. Come to the concert, and I feel like we should all have dinner and discuss music and stuff. And we did. So it's funny, like, how it worked out. And a couple of weeks after, Kaki reached out, and we started to talk about the passerelles. She wanted something better than just a pencil under like the strings.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's interesting because over time, a lot of people say, well, there was this before or that before, or so-and-so used to use a drumstick. And it's like, yeah, there's also a lot of chairs in the world for a long time. If you make another new chair, it doesn't mean that you're copying all the chairs in the world. Actually, we did not patent it. We actually we shared as an open source how to make it. And so if people want to make their own, if they don't want to buy it and they want to just make their own, they can reach out and we can help. So it's not secretive. It's not for the very few people that play with that, it's like, once you also in like the education world, you're more willing to share anyway. And it was, so we did a first round of like 12 sketches. We picked the 3 favorites. We did prototyping of the 3 that we want to move forward. And the one that really we liked most, and that was using the least material, was the shape we have now. That's actually a bridge, which in French is Passerelle. So that's why we got its name, because a bridge is strong for its shape.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So it's because it's hollow under, it's like, a clé de voûte, Mm-hmm. Actually, an arch doorway is stronger than a orthogonal doorway. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, well, with all that pressure down, let's maximize the material and shape for accommodating that. Then it's, so for those who don't know what Passerelle is, that are listening, it's a mobile bridge. that you can place under the strings on the fingerboard at different places on the harmonics. We tend to recommend people to place it on the 16th fret because you still have it works pretty well there. And then you do the open tuning of your liking, and then you can play it like a koto, or I've seen people playing it also like a dulcimer, where it's hammering it. I've seen people use it on their bass and play it like a cello. It's crazy. Like a lot of people used it in the way that we didn't anticipate it. So it can do a lot of things. But what we intended is that you can have a different relationship and pattern with your instrument. It's not about placing your left hand in a certain way by pressing down the notes, but it's not bending with a slide the note either. It's completely different. But it's kind of foolproof. Whatever note you play with your right hand works in simpatico with what you have in your left hand. So it's just a fun way to break patterns and explore something and have different sounds.
Have you sold one to Eric Johnson or not? Because he loved to play koto. Eric Johnson,
No,
the electric guitar player.
You know what? Let's find out, because maybe he should have one.
Yeah.
Would be happy to send him one.
He's so good. He's doing it with harmonics and on his right hand. But he if you are listening some old albums of Eric Johnson, you can hear some koto style. Maybe it could be an idea.
I mean, if he doesn't have one, we'll be happy to send him one.
I've never met him, but he's such an insane good player and gear person, because he's a guy who is like, okay, in my old fuzz face, I am using this kind of batteries because this is the only way to have the best sound, and he can hear which kind of batteries there is. He's he's pretty well known for his love for old Strats, old vintage gear, and Eric Johnson is like insane.
Passerelle was in Rosewood at first, and then it took forever to make one. It was not making sense to do it. Then I've worked with bronze before. And I've done metal casting, so you know what? Maybe when it's molded, cast it, then we just need to test it, polish it. That will also be more strong, because actually, we don't know over time. Like, if people leave the bridge and doesn't nourish the bridge and it's all dry and it's gonna crumble, it's not really great. So I'm glad we switched to bronze, and if you use it a lot over time, it gets that patina, and there's something also about the weight of it that kind of feels pretty good. People sometimes ask for one with pickup, but once we did it and we tried to launch it, no one was interested, and it was not worth it. And it was too hot because we were using a piezo kind of solution. And what else did we try? People asked for 12 strings on it, but it was not worth to make a mold just for that. Now it's like if somebody needs a 12 string, they tell me, and I just modify the 6-string one by hand. Yeah. Because bronze is soft enough, you can use actually wood tools on it.
Okay.
It's
nice.
It's soft enough for that. So we have a base one, enough to just make one small batch once in a while, but not enough to really maybe it's interesting to see, actually, to go with the flow and see what people need or not. But I'm surprised that it's been 10 years. This year it's been 10 years. We need to do a 10-year anniversary of Passerelle thing.
And I don't have one.
What? Well, let's fix that.
Yeah, I
I'll
have
send
your
you
I
one.
have your honey, but I don't have your passerelle. So
Yeah.
l'appel du
Well,
pied. Oh, I don't have one.
yeah, yeah. Well, you don't worry. You'll
Awesome.
have you'll have one.
Cool, cool, cool. Well, what time is it?
It is 4:40.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we. Well,
Can
I
perhaps,
just have one last
of
question. Have you got
course.
new
Yes,
project on the line?
one with Kaki actually for a show she does that's also with light and interaction projection. But
Mm-hmm.
in addition of her guitar and the background, she wanted also a ukulele that
Oh,
also interacts with light. She already has a set of drums that interacts with light. And we did a test drive already in November and December.
nice.
And it got a really good response, and it works with DMX. So it's acoustic, but also there's a way to connect it with Arduino system, with Bluetooth.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be controlled from far away by technicians to activate the instruments.
She's still playing with Veillette guitars, right?
Oh yeah, she has like an amazing collection.
Mm.
Oh, like I've seen like her, yeah, the ones she has from him. It's yeah,
I've met him once.
The sustain of his instruments are yeah. So there's that, and that's called a show called Bugs.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to tour all year, and it is for kids, and
Wow.
I'm really excited about that because it's such a different audience.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's gonna be cool.
Nice.
So far, it's really cute, but so far the feedback we had from the kids on the couple shows, we're like, where are the eyes? So the ukulele is inspired from different bugs. So the shapes, the texture, the colors, the iridescence, but it's not a bug per se. Mm. But like the kids really want to have that, and I understand because they're toys and the cartoons. Like there's something more anthropomorphic about those that actually wants that in the instruments. Then as a grown-up, I forgot that. And I don't have kids, so I didn't realize that actually that's the thing they want the most, which I think is adorable. It needs to have eyes or more. Like maybe it needs to have like 8 eyes, 100 eyes. Who knows? That would be fun to like explore that. But yeah, that's next on the list.
Awesome. Well, more than that, it will be too much because people they love the shortest video. But I will make some cutout but I'll keep most of them just the moment where you left and.
I trust you. You're the pro.
I try.
All right. Thank you very much for having me. That was fun.
You're welcome. Yeah. So fun. Thanks for accepting it like that. Super appreciated.
Of course.
You're awesome. Thanks, Rachel.
You. Bye.
Cheers. Take care.
Take care.